projects right now registered, none have been submitted at this point. So what we're planning on is the submission deadline is May 22nd. And what we're hoping is that we can get all the judging done by June 3rd so we can make the announcement before the school year is over for most schools. How does that sound for you guys?
Sounds good. It's a good idea.
Okay. So, Elliot, I'll let you take it from there.
All right. Thanks, Tony. As a quick introduction, I think I've been on a call with Chuck before, but Jason, nice to meet you. Elliot Mork, Associate Director of Development Initiatives at Project Lead the Way. A lot of my work revolves around the innovation portal, supporting the platform and allowing these competitions to occur, including this competition that you're going to be judging here for today. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to be doing today, and then show you the specifics of what you'll need to know to actually judge these submissions of student work that will be submitted and that you will receive. The first couple steps, I'll give you a quick outline. The first couple steps, hopefully you've already done, but the first thing to do is visit the innovation portal. And if you need to check that your browser is up to date, you can go to whatismybrowser.com and just make sure you have the most current browser, that you're running the most current browser. The innovation portal makes use of some more advanced functions in web browsers, and so older ones sometimes don't work so well with the innovation portal. The second step is to create your own innovation portal account. You can do that for free online. There's no specific judge account to create. It's just every account on the innovation portal is free. Go ahead and create your account. You'll receive an email verifying that your email address, and then once you click on that link and verify your account, you should have that'll be the completion of creating your account. The last step you need to do is give your email address to Tony that you created the innovation portal account with, so he can send you an invitation. And most of you may have already done that step as well. Tony can send an invitation, and then you can either log into the innovation portal and accept it, or you should receive an email. And with that email, you should be able to click on a link and accept it as well. The first thing I'm going to cover today is an overview of how the online system works, how the innovation portal actually functions, how to access the portfolios that will be assigned to you once the students have submitted them to the competition, a little bit about the rubric that you'll be using. It's a pretty well verified, pretty robust rubric that was developed over 3 years with an NSF grant through a couple of researchers around different universities. I'll show you how to access that rubric, and I'll show you how to access scored examples. You have a library of information as a judge for other people, how they have scored portfolios and those sample portfolios. And so you have a really powerful tool available to yourself to calibrate how you'll actually be using the rubric. I know one of the downfalls of doing this all virtually is that you don't get to walk around like a science fair room and kind of calibrate yourself for the quality of work. And so we provide this tool to allow you to calibrate to what the quality of work for what score deserves, what score should be assigned to the work that is in front of you. So the last step will be to submit your scores to Tony. You can do that through the innovation portal, and the judging will be due, I think we discussed, June 3rd. So you'll be receiving the portfolios May 22nd, May 23rd, May 24th, right in there, depending upon if students have submitted on time and there's no issues. You'll get them, and then the judging will be due June 3rd. It takes about an hour per portfolio to review, a little bit longer for the first one as you familiarize yourself with the rubric and how to use it, and then each one after then takes a little bit less than an hour. If you have any issues getting into your account, accessing the portfolios that have been assigned to you, or any other innovation portal specific questions, feel free to send me an email at emork@pltw.org. Anything that's more competition focused about specific schools, I think Tony would be the better resource for you. But anything technical in the innovation portal I can help you out with. I will be pausing once in a while for questions, and so I want to do that first right now to see if there's any questions that before we get going on the first topic.
No, I think I'm good.
All right, sounds great. So getting connected, I kind of already covered this one. The first step is to create your account. Second step is to give the email address that you used to Tony, and then he can send out an invitation. Be on the lookout for that. He can send that off to you. You accept it, and then you're in the competition. So 4 steps to that: you create the account and then accept the invitation. The way the competition is working, the structure of it, there's a bunch of students working out there on their portfolios right now. The first step that they had to do was register for the competition, and all registration does is submit their interest to the competition. So Tony has an idea how large the competition will be. I think he said right now we have 13 students, which could result in 13 portfolios, or it could result in a little bit less if students don't get them done, or if they team up together and submit one portfolio. So they've already done that in the competition stage right now. The next step that students have, I didn't fix that submission window, but the next stage that students have is to submit the portfolio, which is due May 22nd, not March as it says here. Apologize for that. Due May 22nd. And then at that point, you know how many submissions you actually have to do. While the students are over here on the left side working on their portfolio, the competition administrator, Tony, is recruiting judges and recruiting the appropriate number of judges for the number of submissions. So pretty small competition here. Right now we have 13, which gives them a good idea of how many judges we'll have to recruit. We try to have the same amount of judges as students because we ask you to review 3 to 5 portfolios, and then we want each portfolio reviewed 3 to 5 times just for purposes of validity and averaging. The next step that students have that they submit in, a bunch of portfolios are going to come into the entity that is the competition on the innovation portal. There's going to be quite a few submissions. And then on that magical day, May 23rd, I believe, if it's due the 22nd, we have an algorithm to actually send you your portfolio. So you'll receive somewhere between 3 and 5 portfolios to review, and Tony will be sending those to your account. And there's a magic algorithm button that he can click to automatically distribute them. And so they'll all be distributed randomly in an even way, and so everyone will get their portfolios on that when Tony clicks that button to distribute. You'll have the period of about 2 weeks until June 3rd to actually do the review of those portfolios, and then you'll send those scores back to Tony, the competition administrator. So Innovation Portal, zooming up a little bit broader. Anyone can create a portfolio on the Innovation Portal. Students do for classes and EDD or for other engineering design work. Once they create a portfolio, they can invite project partners, and they can invite any number of project partners to work on that same portfolio together. So some portfolios review maybe 1 student, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. It could be any number of students that are actually working together on a portfolio. They can also invite their teacher to view the portfolio, so the teacher can check up on their status. The teacher doesn't really need to edit, so they can be a permission level of just a viewer and not a collaborator. But the teacher can log in and see the progress that they're doing on the innovation portal and how much they have loaded up. The really neat thing too is that it's all virtual, so students can invite their project mentors. These can be engineers or people in the community that they invite in to do a review. There's the same review that you'll be doing. Students can ask a project mentor to do a review, an actual review, and give scores back with comments. And that can all be done before they actually submit the portfolio up to you as the judge for the competition. Once they're happy with their portfolio and the level that it's completed, and they want to submit it to the competition, they can load it up to the competition. In this case, that's going to be due May 22nd. But one really neat thing about the innovation portal is they can do multiple competitions. So if they were eligible and they were ready early in the year for other competitions, students could be submitting the exact same portfolio to multiple competitions throughout the nation. And you can create multiple portfolios in the innovation portal. It's digital, so it's pretty cheap to create more digital things. So students can maintain multiple portfolios and can maintain them even past graduation as long as they want, to use them for submission criteria, kind of a portfolio for schools when they submit to college. And we have had students print out their portfolios and actually submit as part of their application process to engineering schools. This last slide I will come back to later, but I want to pause for any questions again before I jump into the innovation portal and show you some examples of how you're going to be logging in.
Should be good. Thank you.
Yep, I got nothing.
All right, so the first step is to log into the innovation portal. You'll see a page a little bit different from mine right here. I have portfolios right now. I have 46 portfolios just because I use this account to set up judge trainings. Excuse me. You'll probably have a screen that says you have no portfolios, would you like to create one, something like that. because the innovation portal is a portfolio tool mainly, it assumes that if you're logging in that you want to create a portfolio. On the left-hand sidebar here, we have menus, and we're automatically loaded into my portfolios. The first thing I want to bring you to as a judge, you don't necessarily need my portfolios, but you might need my notifications. This is where you'll see the invitations from Tony to be a judge in the competition, and we'll see notifications that you get assignments specific to the competition. So for each student portfolio you receive to review, you'll receive a notification here that'll look something like this. You click the drop-down arrows here, and you'll be able to read the actual notification. So then I want to just show you that, and then move over to opportunities. Opportunities are all the competitions that are hosted on the innovation portal. And I'm getting a little bit of echo, so I'm going to mute some people. All right, sorry about that. I was getting some echo. You can unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question anytime. So right now we are in the current tab of competitions. All of these competitions that we're looking at right here are in the students, either student registration or student submission phase. We're not past the student actual submission of their portfolios. We have the 2016 Wisconsin Engineering Design Competition. We also have the competition for Minnesota here. The first thing you'll want to do to actually, and I was doing this earlier, I need to change one thing here. Once you are judging, you'll want to actually click that past button there. I was playing with this event earlier and loading a portfolio. Let me hit the refresh button here. All right. So right now, your competition, the Minnesota competition, is in the current status. Once students submit their work, it'll be in the past button. So you'll need to click this tab right here and to find the Minnesota competition once you've received the reviews to do. So if you click the past button, it'll be in here. We have a lot of competitions that are already ended. So we have the 2015 ones here. We also have the Minnesota 2015 competition. This one will disappear as soon as the 2016 jumps in there. So I'll remove that. So there'll only be one Minnesota competition. But these are all the competitions that have already completed this spring, all the 2016 ones, and that are either in the judging phase right now or have already completed judging. So for training purposes today, I'm going to click into this training example competition. When you have the reviews, you'll be clicking into the 2016 HHI SCSU Engineering Design Competition for Minnesota. But if we go into this training example competition, I can show you all the functionality that you'll see for the 2016 HHI competition. So this front screen is just a description of the competition. There's a lot more information for your competition. For this one training example, it's kind of an empty shell. But the buttons that you'll see, because you're a judge or a competition administrator in the case of Tony, you'll see this blue bar on the top to have some more options to do stuff with the competition. The thing we want to do as a judge is click on this reviews button here, and that'll bring us to view all the reviews that we've been assigned to do inside of this competition. So if we scroll down a little bit here, we can see that my account, Elliot Mork, has 12 reviews assigned and 11 of them complete. And that's just the number of trainings that I've hosted this spring and completed for the training purposes. You'll have less number, depending on the number of submissions we actually get. I normally say between 3 and 5, but that's going to be highly variable depending on how many students actually submit and how many judges we have recruited. We can see that the first one, 001, new carbon anode, is active. That means I have not completed the review. All the other ones will have the status of complete because I've already completed them already. So we want to look at the first one that is active. Go ahead and click on that one. And then we are loaded to see the actual student work. And we can see the student work that students have done here. We start on the portfolio cover page. We have a right-hand menu bar over here. On the portfolio cover page, it's kind of like a blank space for students to load whatever they'd like. I sometimes use the analogy of a 3-ring binder. The front plastic page is kind of like the portfolio cover page, and then these letters down the sides are the tabs that students use to categorize their work. There's no score on the portfolio cover page, but sometimes students like to load up images or maybe pictures of themselves or introductions or or something. This one looks like it's an overview of their project at a very high level with pictures. But to score the first one, we'll want to go into A, we'll highlight it, and then click on A. And the key thing I want to show you here, and where judges, this is one of the biggest pitfalls for judges, so if there's one thing that you take away, it's this one. Over A, if we hover right here, we can actually view the rubric, and we can click on these numbers. These numbers are not scoring it, so these are just to view. If we want to actually bring up the score page or the clipboard, like if we go back to the science fair analogy, the clipboard with scores, this is how you actually bring that up as a judge. So this is where the innovation portal will actually save your scores. But before we go into that, I do want to show you the rubric on the right-hand side here. We can close that with the down arrow. So if we hover over A, the first element that we'll be reviewing is presentation and justification of the problem. There's a series of reflective questions that students can ask themselves. When I'm training students or advising a teacher how to talk about this, this is like a checklist to students to make sure you've done these things. For a judge, your purposes, you can read these to give you an idea of what topics will be covered in this element, what the scope is that you're looking at just for this element A. You can close that as well if you run out of space like I did there. This is the actual rubric. The rubric ranges from scores of 0 all the way to 5. And when you click on these, the descriptive text changes underneath it. So it's pretty specific what it's looking for in the rubric. This rubric, I think I've mentioned it was developed from a collaboration between high school engineering teachers and researchers, engineering educating researchers. So it was developed pretty intentionally from a lot of really bright brains in the world, and put together this as the engineering design rubric that would be evaluated. They used a rubric specialist to actually come up with this language in a collaborative fashion. So pretty good language here to describe. But if that's not enough, you can also click these scored element examples down here. So let's go maybe do a different one, a score of 4. If we click on 4, we'll have a different file loaded here. Excuse me. For element A, score of 4, we have this scored element example called Forklift Safety Project. And I want you to direct your attention actually up in the upper left-hand part of my screen as I click this. It's a PDF file that will open in another tab. Your browser may automatically open it like mine did here, or it may open another tab and not switch to it, or it may initiate a download. But whatever way you do it, you'll have a PDF here. The first part of this PDF is the title, element A. This is only relevant for element A and a score of 4. Forklift Safety Project is the example project that those researchers and engineering educators were, they had some example rubrics, and they're kind of trying to come to calibration to know what defines high quality and what defines a 4. The first paragraph of text here that you have in this box is their thought process for why this is a 4 and why this is not a 5 and why this is not a 3. So it's all their thought process that they went through to justify why this is a score of 4. If we scroll down, we can see highlighted this element in context of the entire rubric. We can see, again, the rubric text for score of 4 highlighted there. And then if we scroll down, we can see the actual student work. So this is a great resource for you as a judge to know exactly, know exactly what you should be scoring things at, and to come to a calibration for what has been provided as a test portfolio and then received a score of 4. So once we've done rating that, we can click over here, back to A, we think it's a score of 4, and we think, yeah, it's this student work here. If we scroll down, I'm scrolling here with my wheel, or I can drag this to scroll down. Once I review all this, if I think it aligns pretty well with a 4, if I go here and click this 4, this is not actually submitting a score or saving a score if I click it here. But I have to open up my score sheet here, pen icon. I think it's a score of 4. At this point, maybe I want to check to make sure it's a 4. If you click this plus button here, we have the same rubric that's viewable on the right-hand side, viewable in a movable box here. So we can say 4, well, maybe it's a 3, reread that rubric section, maybe decide that it's actually, yes, it is a 4. And at this point, the window gets pretty crowded, so you can click this X button to close that as well. Once we've submitted our score here, everything is saving automatically every couple microseconds, so there's no save button. If you click it, it's saved already. So we can click in here and write a comment. This is a comment about why it's scored as a 4. Quick word about these comments. These are not default sent to teachers or students. That is something the competition administrator will make the decision to do. Typically what I see from competition administrators is providing these comments to the teachers then to use as a teaching tool, but not directly to the students. So that's one way it's used. Another way it's used is we have those researchers that develop the rubric are really interested in how judges go through this training process and then use the rubric and how aligned their scores are for similar portfolios that are submitted. And the comments are used as part of that process as well in current ongoing research. So those are the two ways your comments can be used. And if they'll be provided to students or teachers, that's a question for Tony maybe at the end to see if they will be. But we can submit these comments here, press this down button to close that, to maybe move on to the next section here, B. We can highlight B and then click it, and then we get more student content for element B. So we can go through the same process, reading all this. This one's pretty text heavy. Mostly there's pictures and videos loaded in for different portfolios. B, maybe this one didn't score as well. It's got a 2. We can check with this file again, see just what kind of work receives a 4. Click back over here, decide that yes, it is a 2, click the 2, and then this element needs some work. And again, everything is saved automatically, so we can close that down arrow here. So that we're going to do that for every single element all the way down. And like I said before, the first time you go through this, it'll take a little bit over an hour. You got to read through the rubric to understand how to use it, but then after that it'll take a little bit less, and it kind of varies depending also on the amount of student content. Sometimes there's a lot less content and it's faster. Sometimes there's a lot of content and it's interesting, so there's more to read. If you hit a case where a element is empty, there'll be up on the top here there'll be no content provided text right here, and that just means the student didn't do anything. So graded as a blank sheet of paper, and that should receive a score of 0. And then go ahead and move on. So once we go through all these elements, I won't do this here. One thing I want to point out here, the last couple elements don't have these scored element examples because they're looking at more holistic quality, grammar, writing like an engineer type thing. So writing like an engineer, you don't have the scored element examples because it's a holistic portfolio-wide metric. So you won't have scored examples. Just use your best judgment in the rubric to score these ones. But once we go all the way through this, we can go ahead and click this button called Complete Review. This is what I like to call the Amazon shopping cart page. This is the Are you sure about it page. You get to review everything you've done. So we can look at element A. We put in a score of 4, and we have our comment here. We have our comment for B, and we have the score of 2. If we forgot or didn't put a score in for a specific element, we have a question mark there, and that's an indicator to you to go back and make sure that is scored. Maybe it didn't load, or maybe you put it on the right-hand side bar, but this is just your last chance to actually see if a score is loaded for this. And then there's no comments for this element reviewed here. But I'm gonna pretend like we have all these scores in here for this training. We can scroll down, and at this step, I've used the excuse me again. I've used the analogy of a science fair, and you're walking around with a clipboard and you have your score sheets. At this point, this is like packaging them all up in an envelope, at least for this portfolio. So you look through the envelope, package it all in that envelope there. Clicking this button is like putting a stamp on it, and then clicking this button here is like sending it in the mail. Once you click this complete review button, you can't change any of your scores. It's dropped in the mailbox and you can't get it back. So make sure
So can I do these as a segment? A, B, and then I got to go on to something else. I can just leave the application, come back, finish out the rest of the review questions, and then complete the review, or do I need to do it by segment? A, and then I completed the review on A. B, and then I completed the review on B.
It's a great question. Everything is saved automatically all the time. So if once I click a score, it's going to save that score. We can log out and be done for that point and then come back to it later. Same
Okay.
with the comments. Once it's typed, it's saved. So I could do these two scores, close out my whole browser, close out my computer, and then restart tomorrow, and these scores of 4 and 2 with the comments will still be there. So that's the
Okay.
So you can complete everything and just let it sit and still let things change. But this button sends the scores to Tony, which needs to be done by June 3rd, I believe, is the date. So
Yeah.
yeah, great
Okay.
question.
Thank you.
So we're gonna go ahead and do that and click this button, complete review. This is sending the scores off to Tony in the mail. We can't get it back once we click this button, but we could go back before we click this button. So I'm gonna go ahead and click complete review. It might take a little moment here. And I want to note where the innovation portal put us after we complete a portfolio. This tab, My Reviews, is a tab for all the reviews that you have currently active or complete in your account. So there's quite a few here. There's 20 of 20, which, remember, we only have 12 in this one competition, so that means I have 8 in a different competition. All of your reviews will be here, regardless of the competition. So if you have an account from a prior year, your reviews from that year will still be here. Once you do a review, you still have access to view it, pretty much as long as you keep the account and know the password to log in. It's there. So we can see that the new carbon anode here is complete. That is one that's complete, whereas this one is active and not complete. And I think that's for a different competition for this account. If we click into this, we can still see the student work. So this is the cover page that we saw before, and if we go into A, we can click that and view the work here. But note, the one small difference we have here is we don't have that blue pen icon in the bottom right-hand corner. That's because we can't score it currently. But we already have scored it, so we can click the Review Summary button up here, and we can see our score and comments just to see what we've done and the work that we've accomplished there. So you have access to that, and then you can click the Back to Review button to go back to the actual student work. And then if you want to go back to My Reviews, you can click My Reviews and go to your next one to review. Either use this tab, or you can go back to the competitions, go to Opportunities, click the Past button again here, and then you'll be clicking the Minnesota competition, not the training example. Click into here. My reviews are here. And if we scroll down, we can see that we have 12 of 12 completed here, and the new carbon anode is right here, as listed as complete. So that's pretty much it. Then just rinse and repeat for each review that you'll be doing. That Tony assigns to you, you'll have some number here, and at one after another, you'll go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, complete. I want to pause for any questions here.
No, I think I'm good.
All right, great. Last thing I want to show you are these 3 documents. These are 3 documents I like to send to judges after the training is complete. The first one is a PDF step-by-step guide for judges, and this is just how to log into your account and get access to the reviews, kind of a screenshot example of what I went through here. Reflective questions from the portal is kind of like a summary of the rubric, which gives you an idea of what content will be covered at each element. Then I have the complete ED PPSR rubric, and that's the rubric embedded on the right-hand side. I don't like to send this in advance because it's a pretty large document, something like 20 some pages in a PDF document. The reason I do send it, though, is because if you want to keep open the rubric on another monitor, or maybe print this out and then have the rubric, you wouldn't have to read it and expand on the right-hand side. So some judges prefer to use this PDF document to read the rubric instead of using it embedded in the innovation portal. So you'll receive these 3 documents from Tony as resources for you. And then I think that's all I have. Tony, if you want to bring it back together and maybe address the comments, if you'll be providing comments, and then anything else you want to say.
To me, this is the first time going through it, so it seems pretty straightforward right now. I'm sure I'm going to have questions as we go down the road a little further. But if this sounds okay with you two guys, Kurt's going to be on this afternoon. Jason, have you done this before in the past?
Yes, I did it for Mankato East. Just got done with it this fall.
Okay. So I'm the new guy. It doesn't seem too difficult at this point.
Chuck, I think the hardest thing will be is We're looking 2 weeks from now, so everything that we just went over, you have to remember what we did 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, and on that point, I have been recording this session. It's still recording, and I'll be uploading that to YouTube, and then I'll share a link with, or I'll send it to Tony to share a link with you. So it's in 2 weeks from now. You can go back and at least kind of scroll along and find out what specific thing you want to refresh yourself with.
And I think, Chuck, you and I and Kurt will probably get together and we'll talk a little bit more about getting a few more judges on board here, so we don't have to do all of these just between the four of us.
Yeah, no, I agree. Actually, I got a meeting tonight with some tech ed teachers and some people that aren't in the competition, so I might hit up on them a little bit.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
And tell them how easy it is to work with and how remote they can work with it. It really worked out well for doing it remote. You gotta spend a little time if you're gonna do it right. So, but still, it's so easy to do it remotely, and it'd be nice to even use it in much more college opportunities.
We actually do have quite a bit of usage in the collegiate level. I think the third largest user base that we have are collegiate users. So there a lot of entry-level engineering classes are utilizing this. Typically clustered around the professors that helped develop the rubric as a resource as well. Jason, you said you had done this before. Was that in a competition, or were you helping out as a mentor and doing reviews for a specific class?
I was doing as a mentor for students. They were developing some products or doing some designing, engineering designing. So I helped kind of guide them in things of ways to think about stuff and cost analysis and that kind of thing.
That's great. So did you create an account and they send you a review to do?
Yep. So I went through, I had 3 reviews that I did.
That's great. So the only difference here is that instead of sending it directly to students, you're sending it to Tony for the purposes of a competition, and the scores will count towards the competition. That's really the only difference for this one.
Okay. So this one, it's really as a judge. Is the information, when I use it as a mentor, I gave them recommendations with regards to design intent, what did you do for cost analysis, cost justification, that kind of thing. Are those kind of details going to need, or do I keep that in my own head and score it accordingly?
I think a little bit of both. So the thing you were doing before, we like to call formative feedback, which is they have the opportunity to change something with your feedback. With the competition, It's a lot more summative of this. You're evaluating and scoring, and they won't really have the opportunity to change much for the purposes of the competition. However, they can still get your feedback and use that for their personal use. I think the question to Tony that we could ask is, are you planning on providing the comments in the review to students or to teachers, or you're not planning to?
What do you guys think, guys?
I think it'd be nice to have comments for the teachers. That's my opinion. I think it'd be a great thing for them to better, deliver their curriculum and how to approach this capstone type of project. That's my opinion.
Yep. I guess my only hesitation on that is if they come back and question, why'd you put this comment, and obviously with the rubric we have justification for it. I agree with you, Chuck. I think it is good information for them to look at for their future competitions.
That's typically what I've seen happen, providing the comments to the teachers, and then they can also use their best judgment and knowing the students choose to provide those comments to students or not. All right, Tony, do you have anything else or any other questions?
I don't. I guess one thing that was going through the back of my mind as we're going through this deadline date is I did say June 3rd, which is a Friday. Do we want to push it back to maybe the 6th, just so we could have that extra weekend if need be? Chuck, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea in a way, because there are some schools that go until the 8th or 9th, and then they think that over the weekend, oh, hey, maybe we want to quick submit this. You know, of students are. So I think that might be probably a good idea.
Do you have a hard
I'm
deadline?
sorry, could you repeat that? Could you repeat that again? What your statement was on submittal?
Me or Chuck? I was just thinking if we need an extra weekend, the 4th and 5th,
Okay.
do we push our judging deadline back to the 5th or 6th just to give us a couple extra days, the weekend?
Yeah,
What
I
do you
guess
think,
that's up to you guys. Whatever direction you guys would like to go with this, I'll support. As long as they don't get buried with like 13 of them.
Right.
I mean, it's going to be the level of support we're going to get across the board. Because if it takes at least an hour apiece, holy crap, especially if we're supplying feedback. So the more judges we can have, the better position we're going to be to do that.
I'll come back around to that next week. I think we can look at that as a tentative. Let's try to get it in by the 3rd for sure.
Tony, my only piece of advice for you there is if you have a hard deadline for when you need the winners or the first, second, third place, leave yourself a couple days before that as a judge deadline, because inevitably you'll have 1 or 2 judges that can't finish all the reviews, and you'll need to figure out a way to get those last couple ones reviewed.
Got it. I will look at the schools who have submitted and when their last days of school are to see if we need to adjust it according to that.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I know, like, my kids, they get done, like, May 28th or something. They get out in May already. Yeah. So, so you may have to even move it up a little bit.
We might just have to contact them over the summer or fall.
Yeah.
Are we discussing the student submission date or the date that the judging needs to be done?
The judging.
Judging, yeah. I was misunderstood there.
Nope, I was looking at the judging deadline. Yeah. But I will look at the school dates to find out where we're at with all those. Yeah. And we'll get back to you on emails. Yeah, I have all your email contacts, so why don't we do that? So that's all I have. You guys have any other questions?
No, I don't believe so. Are these additional resources and reference material for the judges, is that going to be emailed out, or is that a location on the innovation portal that I should go to get it?
I'll be sending that to Tony to email that out.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you,
Sean. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tony.
Have a great day.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Touch.